What if I told you the Federal Trade Commission passed a law in 1984 specifically to stop one industry from ripping you off, and 40 years later that industry is still getting away with it? You have probably never heard of the funeral rule. That is exactly how the death care industry wants it. Walk through the front door of almost any funeral home, and you will find yourself in a room that has been engineered to steer your choices before you even sit down. The casket showroom is not just a display. It is a casino floor designed to separate you from your money at the moment you are least prepared to resist. The first thing you see is a wall of polished high-gloss caskets, mahogany, bronze, brushed steel, lined up at eye level, each with a price tag that could buy a used car. The so-called protective models, with their heavy lids and rubber gaskets, get the spotlight. But where is the simple pine box, the basic steel casket, the ones that cost a fraction of the price? They are tucked away in what insiders call Siberia, a back room, a basement corner, sometimes behind a curtain. Hidden camera footage and consumer investigations confirm it. Staff routinely guide grieving families past the premium models, while the affordable options are out of sight and out of mind. The average shopper picks from the first 3 caskets shown. What you see first, you are most likely to buy. In this room, the house always wins. Protective, sealed, peace of mind. Funeral directors lean in with phrases like these, selling you on the idea that a rubber gasket and a heavy lid will keep everything safe, pure, and undisturbed. The sales pitch is sharp. Wouldn't you want your loved one protected from the elements, from, anything getting in? It sounds like care, but it is a script, one designed to turn grief into a premium upsell. But here is what the science says. Those airtight seals do not stop nature. They trap everything inside, including the gases that build up as the body breaks down. Manufacturers know this. Batesville's own marketing decks admit the seals can cause internal pressure. Forensic studies have documented rare cases where, instead of preserving anything, the casket lid actually pops off. What some directors quietly call exploding casket syndrome. So the promise of protection is mostly a myth. The real effect is simple. You pay thousands more for a feature that can turn into a liability. In the end, the only thing those gaskets reliably seal in is the markup. Federal law is supposed to be your shield in this moment. The funeral rule, written by FTC in 1984, spells out your rights in black and white. Before a single casket or urn is shown, the funeral home must hand you a general price list, a full menu of every good and service, itemized with real prices. Not a sales pitch, not a bundle, but a list so you can see line by line what you are actually paying for. If you want to bring in a casket from somewhere else, Walmart, Amazon, or the local woodworker, they cannot refuse it, and they cannot tack on a handling fee. The law says you are free to choose only what you want, and to skip anything you do not. These are not suggestions, they are enforceable rights, yet most people never see the checklist. The director might hand you a glossy folder, but unless you ask, that required price list can stay buried in the desk. The FTC conducted undercover sweeps that found nearly 40% of funeral homes skip this step or quietly discourage outside purchases. On paper, you hold the power. In practice, you may never know it is there. A casket that cost the funeral home $650 can be on the price list for $6,500, an almost 1,000% markup, hidden in plain sight. The director, with practiced sympathy, might warn that you do not want to cut corners at a time like this. But the only thing airtight is the profit margin. Walk into a big box store or search online, and you will find a basic casket for $995 at Walmart, or $1,200 from Titan Caskets, delivered straight to the funeral home. The law says you can do this, and they cannot charge a handling fee. Yet many directors still try to steer you back to their own models, sometimes hinting that outside caskets are risky, or that state law requires a certain kind of vault. Vaults are the next upsell. A simple concrete liner, often all the cemetery requires, costs $700. But a sealed burial vault pitched as essential for protection runs $2,500 or more. That is a $1,800 difference for a feature most families never asked for and rarely need. The pattern is clear. The more you grieve, the more you pay. The funeral rule is supposed to guard against this, but when nearly a third of funeral homes still ignore or sidestep it, the bill keeps growing. Grief becomes a business opportunity, and the line between care and commerce blurs until you cannot tell where one ends and the other begins. Every time a new obituary goes online, a silent algorithm gets to work. Automated bots crawl funeral home sites and newspaper listings, copying names, dates, and every word of the tribute. Within minutes, that data is spun into a fresh memorial page, sometimes on a site you have never heard of, but one that now outranks the funeral home's own listing on Google. These pages are not a public service. They are AD space. Each one is packed with pay-per-click ads and big bright buttons such as order flowers, send a tree, and book a service that route through affiliate links, giving the aggregator a share of every sale. The system is designed to capture your search, your click, your grief, and turn it into revenue. Most families never realize that their loved one's name is now just another line in a spreadsheet, fueling a business model that profits from every condolence and every bouquet. The algorithm never sleeps, and every obituary becomes inventory. An obituary is not just a tribute, it is a public schedule for anyone who wants to know when your house will be empty. Police in cities like Chicago have tracked a 22% spike in burglaries within 48 hours after a funeral notice goes online. The logic is simple. The service time is posted, the family is away, and thieves know exactly when to strike. Law enforcement now warns families to delay posting obituaries or to use privacy settings to hide addresses and service details. Consumer complaints keep piling up as more families come home from a funeral to find their doors kicked in, their grief compounded by loss. The digital grave robbers are not just after clicks, they are after your real-world safety. In death as in life, silence protects profit. The law gives you choices if you know to ask. Share the funeral rule. Break the cycle. Your story could protect someone else. Comment below.